David after coming into leadership. Baada ya Mungu kumbariki na kuwa kiongozi wa wana wa Israeli, akaweza kuwa na amani. He experienced peace, he experienced success against the tribes which were fighting Israel. Why? Kwa sababu alikuwa amemtii Mungu. Hakuna jamii ama hakuna familia ambayo inaweza fanikiwa kama watu ama watoto hawezi kutii. Where there is disobedience, there is no success. Where there is disobedience, there is no order. When there is no obedience, where there is disobedience, there are chaos. So obedience makes things move. Hata katika familia, when people obey, watoto wanapowatii wazazi, mke anapotii mume, mume anapotii huyo mwingine, unapata kwamba there is peace, there is harmony in that family. And our church has been taken or has been considered as a family of God, whereby we are supposed to express this virtue of obedience. Therefore, when David became a king, he was obedient and God blessed him. Akaweza kumbariki, akaweza kuwa na utulivu alipokuwa kiongozi katika nchi ya Israeli. So after he became successful, he moved the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. Alipoihamisha kwenda pale, akaona kwamba kuna kitu kimoja ambacho hakuweza kufanya, because the ark of God was not in Jerusalem. Akasema lazima atafute watu waweze kuleta ile ark, so that he may experience the presence of God, so that his leadership may continue experiencing peace. Akachukua wanaume zaidi ya 30,000, akawaambia kwamba waende kuchukua nini? The ark of God. Walipoenda wakafika, kuna watoto ambao waliokuwa priests ambao walikuwa pale, wakaweza ni Uza and Hoyo, wakaweza kuondoa that ark of God ili iweze kufanya nini? Kwenda Jerusalemu. Walipokuwa wameweka katika the cart, kama ilikuwa imewekwa imebebwa na oxen, a cart ambayo ilikuwa inavurutwa na ndume ama ng'ombe za kiume, ikaweza kufika njiani ikatingika. Ilipotingika, kwa sababu kuna mtu mmoja ambaye ni Uzia alikuwa pale nyuma, akaona kwamba ile ark itaanguka. So what did he do? He said lazima akimbie aishikilie sifanye nini? Isianguke. What happened? God was not pleased with his actions. He struck him dead. Kwa nini Mungu aliweza kumua na yeye ilhali alikuwa amejitolea kusaidia ile ark isiweze kuanguka? Siku ya leo we are going to see the reasons as to why God decided to kill this person ambaye ni Uza, ambaye aliweza kushikilia ile ark isianguke. Sababu ya kwanza ambayo aliweza kufanya Mungu aweze kumpiga ni kwa sababu he had instructed them not to touch the ark. Kwa sababu gani? It was the work of the priests. Hiyo haikuwa kazi yake. Ilikuwa ni kazi ya kuhani kuweza kufanya nini? Kuwa karibu na ark. Sababu ya pili ni kwamba this ark was not supposed to be seen apart from it, that one day, once a year. Ndio sababu ilikuwa inaonekana ilikuwa in the holy of holies. So the way they carried it, God did not accept that method of carrying it. Kwa hivyo ingawa Daudi alikuwa anataka kufanya hivyo, akuwa amefanya nini? Amefuatilia masharti ya Mungu. Another thing ambaye ilifanya Mungu aweze kukasirika ni kwa sababu that ark haikutakikana kubebwa na ng'ombe ama the cart ambayo ilikuwa inavutwa na ng'ombe. It's supposed to be carried na wale makuhani wakiwa wameweka nini? Kwa bega. So they were supposed to carry it wakiwa wameweka kwa pega. So what they did not obey the instructions of God. So that's why God was not happy with the method or the way they were carrying that ark of God. So sasa tunapoangalia yote, what happens when we do not obey God? Why? What experiences or what things may happen to us? The other lessons we are supposed to learn from this ni kwamba Daudi alipopewa jukumu kuwa kiongozi, he failed as a leader to inform the children of Israel what was expected of them. Kwa hivyo Daudi kama kiongozi aliweza kushindwa kuambia wale Waisraeli jinsi ya kubeba ama ya kufanya mambo yale Mungu alifanya nini alipowaagiza. Now, apart from that ark, kwa sababu tunapozungumzia the ark, tunaona kwamba ni mambo ambayo yalikuwa ni ya zamani. Ama katika Biblia, Genesis chapter 2 verse 8 and 9. When God created man and he put him in the Garden of Eden, he gave them instructions. Wasifanye nini? Wanaweza kula matunda yote ya mti ama ya shamba, lakini wasifanye nini? Wasikule ama wasiguse. The moment they touch, they will die. And this is what we exactly see in the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 8 and 9. Kwa hivyo, the moment you disobey God's commands, there are consequences. There are consequences. The book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 and 9 talks about the 1/10, the tithe. We are supposed to give, God has commanded us to give 1/10 of our income. And therefore, we are supposed to do what? To obey. It is a call for us to obey what God has told us. Because if we don't obey, there are consequences. And as Christians, as a family of God, which is very faithful, we need not to disobey what God has said. As leaders, as a church, God has given us duties and responsibilities. And therefore, the other thing which made also Uzzah to be killed is because there was a presumption of sin. Sometimes, kuna mambo ambayo tunayofanya ama ninayofanya na I tend to justify. I presume kwamba Mungu anafanya nini? Mungu ameona, Mungu ataona, Mungu ataelewa, ama wazazi wangu wataelewa, ama mahali nafanya kazi ataelewa. Ninachelewa, lakini naona kwamba because mimi ni binadamu, or to help the ark from falling, he was trying to assist God because he thought God is not present. He thought that God was not present. He thought God was far away. He thought God would not intervene in that particular moment, at that particular moment. Kwa kawaida, hata sisi wenyewe, there are times we find ourselves in situations. Unapiga hesabu yako, unaona kwamba Mungu hayuko karibu. Wacha nifanye hivi. No. We need to trust in God wherever He is. In every situation, God is watching. God is in control. So they failed to understand that regardless of where they were, God was present. God was present. And therefore, this evening, let us also know that all these things happened because Uzzah and David, who were leaders in Israel, failed to take or to obey the instructions which God had made. Lastly, let us also consider the book, or let us read from the book of Isaiah 58, 13 to 14. Somebody to read the book of Isaiah 58, Isaiah 58:13 to 15. Someone to read? Yeah, yes, Isaiah 58:13. It talks about the Sabbath, and 14.
Nitakulisha urithi wa Yakobo baba yako, kwa maana kinywa cha Bwana kimenena hayo.
Kwa hivyo, that's a promise of God which requires obedience. God has promised us that if we keep the Sabbath, tutafurahia yeye na atatupatia urithi, ama is going to bless us abundantly. Therefore, those commands or those instructions God has given us must be obeyed. If we don't obey, then it means we're going to lose those privileges we receive from God. So in summary, what I have said is this, or what I'm saying is this, in kwamba we are all leaders katika nyumbani zetu, katika mahali tuko, to take responsibility to lead by example, by being obedient, so that we avoid the consequences of disobedience. Lastly, it says, we need to ask ourselves, where do I lack in obeying God? Where do I lack in obeying God? When you realize that you are lacking, when you realize that you are disobeying God, or you are not doing as God requires, there is only one remedy, is to come to Jesus with a contrite heart and ask for forgiveness. God is so faithful, regardless of our condition, regardless of what we have done before. God is faithful to open a new chapter for you and for me. That is the character of God. He does not expect, or he does not want any one of us to perish. Therefore, this evening, I am calling upon all of us that we come before the presence of God. Our God is so faithful to accept us back after making a decision. The Lord, where I was yesterday and the day before yesterday, I am now a changed person. I have come before you. Lord, accept me, because I have accepted to obey your voice. So it's my prayer this evening that all of us will accept to be obedient and to obey God's voice. And may God bless you. Tutasimama. Tutasimama. Saheri